Good evening. Wow, very exciting to be here tonight. Can you guys all hear me all right? There we are. Turn up the volume a little bit. Oh, there we go. This is all set up for Stephanie, so is that a little bit better? Perfect, thank you. All right, great. So I'm Julius, Stephanie's husband. I'm co-owner of the business, of course, and I handle the backside of the business. So for the people that don't know me, anything that's not dog related, dog training related, I handle. So you name it, I do it. I handle all of the problems, any of the problems that might actually come up, the good things, the bad things, whatever it might be, client vetting. So for the board and training portion of our program, I alone for the most part, Carrie does a lot of it now, but for many years I alone handled 100% of those client phone calls, vetting our clients and getting them to the point where they understood what our programming was, what we needed from them, what we were actually expecting from them, and so that's what I do. Looking good and sounding good on Facebook. Who is that? Stephanie Vachinsky hawking over me like a vulture. No, she's wonderful. Show. Oh, look at that. There we go. So really this is designed to allow people, we have a lot of people actually reach out to us, people who are our clients, people who are our students. I'm really surprised at the number of people that come through that have never had anything to do with our company before, but they got a hold of us, that they were like, look, I've been watching you folks. They haven't done any type of business with us. A lot of people in Canada, dog trainers from up north, reaching out, asking us to go through their business and take a look at it. So there's a huge difference between being a dog trainer and being in the dog training business. And what I've come to find throughout, the different people that I've coached, companies even, large scale, small, where it's one person or, it's a group of trainers, is that many of them, and I say this with great love and respect, but they find themselves in a difficulty that they're exceptional dog trainers. They know what they're doing with the dog training, but the business of being in dog training is something that they're struggling with. More often than not, it has to do with client relations. I've heard from a lot of dog trainers that they've become dog trainers because they don't want to deal with the people. Their goal is to just deal with the dogs, and that's great. But the reality is that you have to deal with the client as well. Especially if you're looking to actually have a legitimate brand. So it's not just, hey, I'm looking to make a quick buck, or, I kind of do this part-time, but anybody that's actually looking to do anything similar to what we've done, where you're creating a brand that's recognized, whether it's locally, hey, this is the brand that, this is the dog trainer that we want to go with, or if it's something where you become nationally or internationally known, you want people looking at your brand and saying, that's a quality program. So that's why our school, Method Canine Institute, has become so successful, is because we've been able to garner that. People see what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and they know that the people that have gone through our programming are held to that exceptional standard. And so that's why we have people reaching out, hey, look, I'm looking on your website. Do you have any dog trainers in our area? Are there any that are upcoming? Anybody that's actually certified through your program? And that's a wonderful feeling to know that people are actually looking for that. So this is definitely an opportunity for anybody to ask any questions that they might have. Other than that, there were some key points that I wanted to go over just for the sake of making sure that this video, for anybody that might watch it later on, would be helpful. Bear with me. My wife is a huge tea drinker. Me, not so much. I am, coffee guy. Lots of little questions that are coming up. That's amazing. So, just kind of jumping into this, and of course, if you have any questions about any of the content that I'm bringing up, feel free to, kind of just jump in. But that said, lead qualifications and client vetting. I actually put together some things that I wanted to make sure that people were able to get into, but bear with me here one second. There's a question. Do I have any recommendations on running group classes that gets consistency with showing up? Yeah, the number one recommendation is have them pay in advance. You want to hold people accountable. If you have a limited space, especially, so like for instance, when we first started doing training, we didn't have a facility, we would rent out a space, and that space would allow us to have X amount of people. So let's just say 15, that's a good number for, a class, depending upon what you're actually teaching. And you need to hold those people accountable. So having them pay fully, not deposit, but fully upfront, reserving their seat, understanding that there is no refund for that seat. Now, of course, refunds are all, you have to go in like a lion. You can always be a kitty cat later on. Going in like a lion says that, look, under no circumstances you're going to receive, a refund. However, you always reserve the right to give a refund, and that's the way that we operate our business. Everything is really cut and dry. Once you pay, that's it. However, things happen. People get into accidents. People get sick. There's all sorts of things that, do happen that are reasonable, and we need to take those things into consideration. So that said, having it set up where they have to pay in advance, fully pay in advance, their seat is reserved. If they don't show up, that's fine. They lose it. If there's some legitimate reason, you can work that out later on. But I would say, and I would say this with great respect, don't give the money back. Move them into another program. So, Friday, 5 o'clock, they were supposed to show up. They didn't show up. They get a hold of you later on. Hey, this is what happened. If depending upon how your program is actually set up. So our classes, the very first class, dogs didn't show up, and that was where we went over safety, safety protocols and what was expected during the class, and so it was really informational and very helpful, and I advise everybody to do it that way, and I can talk about that more later on and why we implemented that. But that said, if your first class is actually hands-on, then you have a couple different options on how you want to handle it, but I would usually advise if they weren't able to make the first class and they're willing to go into another class, that I would just move them. You don't have to worry about what you're doing with their money at that point in time. They're still not getting a refund, but they're getting the full value of what it is if you feel that's reasonable. If you don't feel it's reasonable and they have some lame excuse like, oh, my friends were going to the casino and that's what I wanted to do, well, it's a use it or lose it scenario, and then you just make a decision on whether or not you want to let them jump into class 2. But I really do think that having them pay in advance is key to accountability, because you just can't have people, I'm going to come to the class, I'm going to pay when I get there. Unless you know them, you have an established relationship with them. Again, you need to go in like a lion, and then you can always adjust from there. But rule of thumb, have them pay you immediately. And then they're either going to show or they don't, and it's their time to use or lose. So I hope that answers your question. If you want me to elaborate on that some more, I'm happy to do so. But I do find that, you get a lot less complaints from people when that's established in the front end, where they know that that's actually what's going to happen. And the people that are going to balk at that, you probably don't want to do business with them to begin with. If somebody's going to say, well, I shouldn't have to pay for this in advance, and, I don't like this no refund policy. Okay, great. If I still have room in the class on the day of, you're welcome to, join up that day and pay that day, but they still need to pay in advance. So, let's see. They do pay up front, so they just forfeit the class they missed. I'm starting out, maybe have 4 people, but it's set up to be where people join whenever they're ready? Do I make it more? So if you have a system where people join whenever they're ready, I would get away from that. And the reason why is because if you're dealing with anything that potentially could be behavioral, right? Anything, meaning that you have dogs that are unsure, you want all of those dogs on the same page. So we used to do it where anybody could come in whenever they wanted, even with our board and trains where we had dogs just coming in and coming in and coming in, and we went away from that. The number one reason we went away from that was to create a better environment for the dogs in the program. And you always want to default to what's going to be the most safe for everyone. And when I say that, I say that very pointedly because you want to protect yourself. And so if you have a drop-in class, if that's how it's set up, maybe that's one thing. But if you have a dedicated program where you're like, okay, it's going to be 5 weeks, and over that 5 weeks, we're going to teach A, B, C, and D, I would say that it would be better to have that structured program. Don't let people come in halfway, because when you have those dogs coming into your program, you want those dogs to kind of understand each other and be comfortable around one another, so that you're never running into a situation where you have a new dog coming in that doesn't know what's going on. That's like, oh my God, I don't know what the issue is, and then blowing up and then disrupting the rest of the people who have already paid and were having a great experience. So having dogs that are calm and understanding what the program is, another reason why we have on our classes, the very first day is not anything that the dogs attend. It's only the owners of the dogs that are coming in, so that we can educate them. This is what's to be expected. This is how the room is going to be set up. This is what the safety protocols are. This is what we expect of you. And they come to the next class with their dog fully prepared, so that we can have a great experience. If you have people coming in kind of willy-nilly whenever they want, you can't ensure that quality environment the way that you can having it set up with a more structured environment. Now, if you're absolutely against that and say, no, my business model allows this, then you're kind of just in a situation where that's going to be the way that it is. As you get more clients that are coming in, 10 to 15 or however you want to set up your class, I think we do 8 to 10 now, and we have 3,000 square feet, but we want to make sure that that program is as rock solid for everybody, and we want to make sure people have enough room and and stuff. And of course, people are coming into us with some different issues. But that said, we want the very, very best, and we want it to be as safe as possible. So I think that that's the best solution that I would advise you. Oh, I'm so sorry for not putting your questions up on the thing. Let's go ahead and do this. All right, so here's a good question. What are our thoughts on ChatGPT helping with logo and website design? I see they can create so easy, but it seems to be too easy. How much do you charge for website design? So we don't actually do the websites for other people yet. That is something that's in the back burner, and I've thought about kind of making something for our students where, as an add-on where they have, a functional website with all of the questionnaires and everything else and payment options. However, I don't like the idea of using AI to produce a logo, because anything that's created by AI you can't own. That's my understanding at this point. Meaning that if it's artificially created, you can't copyright it, and that's a problem. So going to Fiverr and paying somebody $20 to create you a logo is a much better way to go, as long as you're dealing with somebody where you are going to own the intellectual property rights to that. And then once you get that logo, depending upon how your branding is and your company is and all that, I would absolutely say to copyright it, and that's an expensive cost. But I'll tell you our experience with that and why that's something that's really near and dear to us. So when we started our business, we were called United Canine, and a super nice guy owns a company down in another state, and I'm not going to call it out, but the name was similar to ours. Now, we had been operating with our name for a couple of years prior to this company opening up, but their logo looked a little similar to ours, their name was similar to ours. I don't know how intentional that was, but it was what it was, and they copyrighted it. They sent us a cease and desist, and we had to go to our attorney and say, what's going on with this? And that was a very tough and expensive lesson to learn, because it wasn't just a matter of, the changing a name, but now it's changing the name, changing the business cards, changing the merch, having to deal with all of that, changing the website, coming up with a new name. And so when we came up with Method Canine, we feel very blessed on how that all panned out, and we love the fact that we did change it. So this is all, God's goodwill, and we're happy with that. However, there was a lot of cost to it, and a lot of time. So we went ahead and copyrighted everything, and even having the copyright, there's good and bad with that, because if somebody infringes, which we've had people do, it's $1,000, $1,200 a letter that our copyright attorney has to send out to have them stop doing that. And I could tell us all sorts of stories about that. Again, this is what I do. I handle all the backside of stuff, so Stephanie and Carrie and Hope don't have to deal with any of that. But that said, I would stay away from AI for the logo creation. I would go to an actual artist and say, please create me something from scratch that I can own, and then have the paper trail showing that. Because even though we had operated with all of that for a year and a half, and we had standing, the amount of money for us to go to court and kind of force a copyright to be undone, which was probably not going to happen, it just wasn't fiscally responsible, and so we went away from that. So yeah, have somebody do it. You can get it Fiverr, again, Fiverr, super cheap. Have them make something. We made our own logo in-house because we wanted something that looked like a dog being, built up. So you have the dog, and then us adding to it, and that's the story behind our own logo. So hopefully that answers your question well enough. All right, so Jessica writes, and this is a good point. She said, I do not have intentions of becoming a dog trainer, but I did have a dog walking pet sitting business for 15 years. I found one of the obstacles I had to help my clients overcome, not her but them, was their incorrect assumption that it was a hobby and not a business. I had to train them to respect my time and talent, and that's just a tip for new entrepreneurs. And I agree with her 100%. There comes a point in time when you're in this business where you have to, as a dog training business, understand that you are the expert. And I'd say that that's probably one of the things that we coach to the most. People being unsure of the information that they're giving to the client. Once you get to a point where you can train a dog, you should be confident in the information that you're providing to people, and going in there like that. You are the expert. People are coming to you because they don't understand, they don't know, they don't, realize how to help their dog, and they're seeking that help. So once you get into that client relationship with them, you should be speaking from a point of experience and justified understanding, where the proof is in the pudding. That's one of the reasons why Stephanie was so bent on providing transparent videos. There's probably thousands of hours now of video content out on the internet. And, when we first started in our garage, showing people what we were doing, how we were doing it, why we were doing it. And when we would get those questions of, yeah, I see you working with, a 50-pound dog. I'd love to see you do that with a 100-pound dog. And then us being able to go and pull out, videos of a 212-pound Mastiff that was human aggressive, and saying, well, here she's doing it with this dog. Does that, meet your standard? We were able to combat a lot of the comments and people just the naysayers or whatever, and that quickly went away. So I totally agree with Jessica regarding that point. You've got to come from a point of I am the expert. This is the way that I'm running my business, and people should understand very clearly what their role and expectation is. So when we sell a board and train program, and I talk to them. Our conversion rate is exceptional. So our conversion rate is about 98%, and that's not an exaggeration. Most of the people that are contacting us for board and trains, I don't have to sell them. It's really just logistics and me talking to them and advising them what we're expecting of them, and how we're going to get their dog to us, and really what to expect with the program. Those phone calls, I invested usually about an hour and a half into that phone call. But when they get off the phone with me, there's no misunderstanding. They know what we want from them. They know what we expect from them. And when you're vetting a client, this is advice that I planned on giving, regardless of wherever the questions led. You've got to be willing to walk away from somebody that's unwilling to do the work. That is the worst kind of client that you can have. And what I mean by that is, we have a vetting process. If you contact us, you have to fill out an online program. There's always the exception. Grandma calls up, hey, I don't really use the internet, and I've got my little 3-pound Chinese crested, and okay, we can take care of you, right? But if you're speaking to somebody and you know that they're on the internet, I found you on the internet, you know that they have a public profile, you know that they are skilled and they've got their Apple phone, there's no reason they can't go and fill out a contact form on your website. The contact form has a lot of questions. We go over that in our programming in the level 1 certification, because we need to know certain key things. What is your dog coming here for? What's the actual problem? How many people, has access to your dog? What's the day-to-day like? How many other dogs are in the home? When did this problem exist? And, depending upon what the issue is, whether it's something like, I just got a new dog and my dog is a little sketchy and, really good, no bites or anything, or, no, my dog has bit the neighbor child 4 times through the fence, whatever it might be, we need to know. And so if they're unwilling to fill out that contact form, and it's willingness, not ability. So we've talked to a lot of people. I do not have the ability to fill out that contact form. I really need to have an in-depth conversation with you, where I filled out the contact form to my best ability, and sometimes there's additional discovery that needs to happen. It's not a matter of ability, but willingness. I'm not filling out that contact form. Okay, well, you can find another trainer. And I've had that conversation. In fact, there was one year where we walked away from about $89,000 worth of revenue because they were not a good fit. And what makes a not a good fit is I don't want to do the work. Well, I'm not filling out that contact form. My time is too valuable. Okay, find somebody else. And the reason why is if you're unwilling to do what little I'm asking you to do in the front end, you will never do what my wife is going to tell you in the back end. And when you have a dog that's aggressive and you're not going to do what you're not going to do it, right? She tells you do A, B, C, and D, and you're unwilling to take 10 minutes to fill out a contact form that I need you to fill out so I can best help you. If my time is not valuable, her time's not valuable, and if her time's not valuable, you're not going to do what we're asking you to do. And when your dog fails because you did not do what we need you to do, what's going to happen? You're not going to take blame for that. You're not going to be like, oh yeah, well, Stephanie did a phenomenal job training my dog. Hope did a phenomenal job training my dog, but I just sat on my hands and didn't really, take the advice that was given to me, the guidance that was given to me. I didn't do that work. What's going to happen? Little Timmy's going to get bit because they went to a dog park and let their dog off leash, or some foolishness is going to happen that they weren't supposed to do. And they're going to say, Stephanie Vichinsky Method Canine trained my dog. They're to blame. I'm unwilling to let that happen. You should be unwilling to let that happen as well. And so from the very front portion of it, at any point in time, somebody complains about the ask that you have of them to give you information, to be transparent about what's going on, or if you find that they're hiding stuff, which we've had, it's like, if they're hiding it, that's not going to be helpful for you. Walk away from those people, learn to say no. I can harp on that, forever. Tara asks, this is a great question, Tara. Do we offer a business training program? So right now, I offer out, and I tend not to push it. We have a lot of people reaching out for it and it's been a really good experience. We do offer business coaching, that's a session with me. And I do it differently because most business coaching, they want to sign you up for a package, right? We're going to give you X amount of hours. We're going to meet, once a week. I kind of feel that's all nonsense. I should be able to, you should reach out to us. You set up a date and time with us to talk about what's going on. You advise us where the areas of opportunity that you feel are in your need basket, and then I go from there. And there's a lot of things that we do, and I usually reach out to the company, and like I've had business coaching where somebody reached out to us and said, we're not filling our slots. Like we're not, getting clients, and I don't understand how come we're having such a hard time. And there was one business owner that reached out not too long ago and said that they just didn't understand why they weren't getting the numbers that they thought that they should be getting. And so, we scheduled his her phone call out, and I called their business. Called them on a Monday, called them on a Tuesday, nobody's answering, nobody's returning my phone call. Nobody is actually at the desk to answer my questions or to field that phone call, and without the responsiveness or turnaround time or whatever. In fact, I called one business recently where the voicemail was, we're super busy, so we'll get back to you in 72 hours. Just absurd. So, we give feedback like that. So I don't believe in the business coaching that goes on where they want you to, sign up for X amount of time and you're going to pay this thing or you're going to pay monthly. A friend of mine's doing business coaching. He's paying $3,000 a month. We charge $350 for a 2-hour session, and most of the time we get through everything that you want to get through. And most of the time I give additional time if there's other questions. We want you to be successful. You shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg to have the information. I talked to one guy up in Canada who reached out to us, and he didn't fill out a form or anything when I first started offering it. I was on a really great podcast, Dog Trainer Podcast. If you haven't heard of it, you should check it out. Anyway, I had offered out, to anybody that was listening at the time, some free advice. And this guy reached out, sent me a nice email, and I called him and we went over his entire website and explained to him, where those areas of opportunity were without him having to drop a whole lot of money. Actually, he got it for free. I don't offer that now because we are kind of inundated with requests, but yeah, don't spend a bunch of money on business coaching, especially if you say, hey, yeah, I'm an eclectic business owner, or, I've been in business and, it's all the same, customer facing. It's not. It's not. The dog training business was something I had to learn from the ground up, and there's unique differences between with what we as professionals do versus anything else, because you're dealing with an animal that you can't sit down and talk. Sally comes in, Sally's got an issue with her dog, Pepper's bitten 5 or 6 people. You can't sit down with Pepper over a cup of coffee and say, Pepper, what's going on? What's the problem? Oh, I really don't like that person. They smelled bad or whatever, or, they made me scared. We don't have that opportunity. So in that, we have to deal with the clients in a way that they're going to understand. It's going to be helpful to them. We're not just training the dog, we're absolutely training the person as well. And on that note, not to harp on this too much, when you're dealing with these clients, you've got to ask yourself, what are you doing to invest into them? They're an investment. It's not just that you're going to get a return because they're going to pay me for my time and it's going to be a one and done. It's what that customer is going to do after the experience with you is over. Are they going to refer other people? Are they going to be a headache? Again, I would rather walk away from somebody that I thought was going to be a headache than bring them into our fold and then find out that they're just a nightmare and that they don't do anything that we need them to do. And they constantly whine and complain about, what's going on and, why do I have to do that? And why do I have to have my dog in a sit? And you tell them, don't do A, B, C, and they're still doing it. Those headaches come back to haunt you, because when something happens with their dog or their dog doesn't perform, they're going to say, so-and-so trained my dog. When a dog leaves our care and we put the Method Canine stamp of approval on the dog, we want to make sure that the owner is prepared. So I quite literally tell them, and you should too, the standard that we set for the dogs coming through our program is exceptionally high. But the standard that we set for you as the owner is considerably higher. The dog's only with us for a short period of time in the grand scheme of things, but the dog is going to be with you for the rest of their life. You've got to be willing to do what we're advising you to do. And if there's any issue with that at all, don't contract with us. Let's work through those issues first. And we've had people that were like, we had a nice doctor that was from Spokane that had a dog, and she was super busy. And she actually got turned on to us because of the nature of her business, dealing with dog bites and stuff like that. And she said, look, I want to have my dog trained through you. You're absolutely who we want to use. But I have a very busy schedule. So we wound up booking her like a year out for a year further than what we normally were booking, because that's what made sense for her life. So you have to be willing to make those concessions and make those trade-offs But you have to look at these people and say, what's going to be best for your business? And sometimes the best thing is walking away from them. So I'm going to stop harping on that because I will go on that forever. Hi, Jennifer. I know you can't be at the office 24/7. Oh, let's look at this. Victoria Long. I know you can't be at the office 24/7, so when does that last person leave? When does the first person show up in the morning? How do you monitor the dogs overnight? That's a great question. So while dogs are, currently we don't have any dogs in our facility at this point, and we did that purposely. So we schedule our board and trains in blocks and do different things. When the dogs are physically here, we have cameras throughout our facility. There's potty rounds that go on late at night because the dogs obviously have to potty. And then there's potty rounds that go on early in the morning. When we had more trainers, depending upon the number of dogs, so it's very, very key that you cap the number of dogs that you have to a reasonable number that's fair to the trainer, that's fair to the client, to make sure that the client is going to get the best experience. So even if we can house, I think our facility can house 76 or 86 dogs or whatever, it's something absurd. We've never had that number. And then you have to have a number that's appropriate for the amount of trainers that you have. And you can't go over that. You can't spend 15 minutes with a dog. I know that you're not suggesting that, but I'm saying, you can't spend a short amount of time with the dog. You have to actually put that time in. And so having a number that's small so that the trainer can actually work those dogs and have everything be effective and have your program set up so that there's some overlap between training. One dog's in a down while you're actively working with another dog, tug, or whatever the case might be. That's how you can maximize the time with the dogs without actually, taking on too little, because obviously you have to be profitable. But that goes on. Then again, we have cameras, and you have to be ultra transparent. When we were operating at our house, it wasn't a big issue. You get up in the middle of the night, you use the bathroom, you go check on the dogs, everything is great. But when you're operating in a facility that you're leaving for the night, obviously you have to have methods to watch. So we have 4K cameras throughout our facility. We have 8K cameras on the outside, double cameras with telephoto. We have additional Wise cams throughout the facility. The rooms are temperature controlled. So we can actually, I have an app on my phone where I can go in and we have temperature and smoke and all that type of stuff. And I can see exactly what the temperature is, regardless of wherever I'm at. We know everything that's going on in the business and what the environment is to make sure it's always completely comfortable for the dogs. People come in very, very early, people leave very, very late, and the purpose of that is to make sure that the dogs have as much care as possible over that window. So we do allow people to leave, and then they do come back for potty rounds, and that seems to be the best solution to make sure the dogs are getting the best care. So hopefully that answers your question okay. Hi, Julius. Is the business coaching included in the certifications? So yes. So I did the business videos, and I did them very raw. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you, just for the way that it looks, but it was done that way to be very real. And the feedback that we've gotten on it has been so exceptional. I'm really glad that I did it that way. So I filmed myself at a camera, sharing my screen, working the day like a normal day. And went over everything. So there's a tremendous amount of information all in the level 1. Now, we don't require that section because we do have a lot of business owners that don't need the business coaching side of it. But even for the business owners, we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback from it. But the purpose of including all of that was to make sure that somebody that was completely green, never trained a dog before, could go through our programming, get the education that they needed, and then on top of it, that they would be able to have the how do I set up my business? How do I insure myself? How do I vet the clients? What does that actually look like? What kind of business tools do I need? What should I be investing my money into to make sure that my investment, because some people are walking into a very minimal investment, and that's okay. You can be successful with that. Excuse me. And so we want to make sure that you have all of those tools and resources and understanding that you can need. So I preach about the things that I'm telling you right now are things that I go on about in the video portion of it, because we want to make sure that people have that understanding. And a lot of it is just voiceover where you're seeing like my contact forms, and I'm jumping from contact form to contact form, showing you how I actually vet the clients, how we triage the contact forms that are coming in, what information do we require and why do we require it. So there's an incredible amount of this is what we do and why we do it. And I think that one of the greatest things that we receive, the greatest compliments that we receive, is that we've been so transparent. So most dog training companies, and I understand why, are very like tight-knit. I don't want to give anything. I want to hold everything. These are my secrets. And it shouldn't be that way. There's so many dogs in the world and so many owners that are looking for qualified trainers that there shouldn't be any type of secrecy. There's, we've been ultra transparent. We've given out that information, and we do it that way to make sure that you can be as successful as you possibly can be. We've created a recipe for success. Method Canine understands it. We've paid our dues. We've spent a tremendous amount of money. We've lost money. We've made it. And when we put this together, we wanted it to be something where people wouldn't make the same mistakes that we've made. Just like I was talking about earlier about, the copywriting and stuff like that. We want to make sure that you have that information so you can make educated decisions. And if you need additional transparency, you can always schedule, with me. It's actually on the website. You can schedule business coaching. Just click on it, pay for it, do all that type of stuff. Super simple. But if you have simple questions, reach out. Julius at methodcanine.com. So Julius at method, METHOD, the letter K, the number 9.com. Now, if you send me a laundry list, 100 different items that you want, you're going to get a link back saying schedule a call, and that's fair. But if you have something simple, then, tune in. I'm really surprised, honestly. I told my wife I wasn't sure how many questions we were going to have or how this was going to roll out, and I'm a little surprised that we have as many people, here. I was like, we're probably not going to get maybe one or two people, the diehards or something, but this is fun and exciting. So, Autumn, thank you, Autumn. I'll just throw that up there because, that's true. Who is this person? Look, ma'am, this kind of harassment will not go on. Oh, wait, that's my wife, so that's okay. Let's see. This is good. How do I find insurance companies for dog training businesses, liability, etc.? So that is something else that we do go over in the level 1 certification. It's one of the parts of the business thing. But to answer that question pointedly, the best thing that you can do, because every state is different in what they require, is to find an insurance broker. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean going to like an Allstate or going to, there's some companies I won't even mention because they're so horrid. I was in insurance for several years. I could go on about that. But anyway, find an insurance broker that deals with multi-lines, meaning that they can deal with all of the different companies. Sit down with them, go in there, talk to them, and say, look, I need to insure myself against possible liability, and it's their role and responsibility to educate you on what you're going to need and find the best policy possible. You should absolutely, if you're doing this for work because of the liability exposure, you should create an LLC if you don't already have that. I think it's pretty inexpensive. You can do it yourself, but go find an attorney, go online, $500, something like that. Create an LLC for that additional level of distance from what's going on. On top of that, you should also have a personal umbrella policy. Umbrella policies are really cheap. Now, maybe not everybody would think that. I think our first umbrella policy was like $1 million, and I think it was like $375 for the year. Now, that was many years ago, and then we've increased that. I think we have like a $6 million or $8 million umbrella at this point in time, and it's a little bit more money, but still I think it's only like, I don't know, $1,500 or something for the year, maybe. I don't know. We have a lot of insurance. But get it out of your head that you can be over-insured, because you can't. That's just not reality. You should be properly insured for the level of assets that you have and what you need to protect. So sit down with somebody, say, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, I need to protect myself against this, and then you can get that liability coverage. We do go through, it's a very long name, the Business Insurers of the Carolinas. So the Business Insurers of the Carolinas, and we have our general dog liability through them. They do base it on income, so you can get to a point where you're paying a boatload of money for it, but they're very nice people to deal with, and we've had good experience. But on top of that, we have like Allstate insurance, and then our building is through the Hartford, and so there's all sorts of different things that we're insured against in case things happen. And so we spend probably about $10,000, $15,000 maybe a year on insurance. So you can definitely get up there, but $15,000 is pennies compared to what you could potentially be sued for if there was something that actually happened. So yeah, find an insurance broker. Just Google it, local insurance brokers, because they're going to know specifically your area and what you actually need. So that's a very good question. Good question. So our state offers free legal advice and reviewing forms. Will this be okay instead of having an attorney? Yes, because you want to make sure that your state is approving what you're doing, that you're operating within the guidelines. So we're just starting to do business with somebody, and they sent me over their contract, and their contract was understandable, but it was very aggressive, and you can't be overly aggressive. So our contract for our business, I would say that we probably spend about $10,000 to $13,000 over X amount of years revamping and getting it where it needs to be. We've learned a lot. You have to be able to give. There has to be give back. So if you're taking something from somebody and saying you have to, fully non-refundable, it's fully non-refundable. But in the event of some extreme circumstance, that we're going to give you a refund. There's always got to be some caveat that allows the people to be able to operate, that's going to protect them. So yeah, I would get your general contract, your general liability disclosure, send it over to them, have them review it. If they're doing it for free, God bless you, that's amazing. In fact, when we started out, the attorney that we have now is the same attorney that we started out, but she had a by your income place. I think we were paying like $50 a visit or something like that. And then once your income goes where it goes, then we were no longer eligible for that, and then we went to her own and we lucked out. Our attorney is amazing, ultra knowledgeable, used to be an attorney for Warner Brothers, dealt with all the stars and everything like that. So as our notoriety and stuff continues to expand, she's just been amazing, and we've walked away from a lot of potential collaborations because the contracts that they were giving us were garbage, and we've taken her advice. It's amazing. So I do always advise everybody that if you're going into business for yourself, you need to have and understand that this is an expense that you have to have. You should have an insurance broker in your pocket. You should have an attorney in your pocket. So you should have somebody that's giving you legal advice and advising you. So if you can get that service for free, perfect, do that, and have everything reviewed as much as you can. So you should have a liability release for classes. You should have a liability release if you're going out to places where, saying, look, we're going to a park today, and we're going to do, a pack walk or whatever. Everybody should be holding you harmless for stuff that happens with their dog while you're with them. I know a dog trainer that got a hold of us that they walked in the house and they sat down in the chair talking to the owners about the dogs, and their dogs got into a fight, and one of the dogs got very hurt. This dog trainer just sat in a chair, didn't do anything, they're just talking, and those people tried to sue that dog trainer, and they got a hold of me and asked me about it, and I said, that's ludicrous, you're not going to pay anything. That'd be like a plumber coming into your house to look at your sink and your bathroom exploding and you suing them because they're there. Absolutely ridiculous. But they were concerned about it, as a new dog trainer, and as worrying about the potential liability. That's a reasonable thing to be concerned about. But again, having somebody in your back pocket that you can go to and say, look, I need to schedule an appointment with you, and, they already know you, already established, you've somewhat retained them, what's going on. You need to have that advice, and you need somebody that's actually operating in your state to give that advice to you. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt and paying for things that you should not be paying for. Let's see. That's awesome. Love this. Hopefully you're a fan of what we're doing, and I love that you said you're a diehard fan. That's great. Tell Steph that Gronk's mom had a good question. I will. She's actually watching. I'm at the facility. I've never done one of these before by myself, and she's actually in the office right now, babysitting me. So it's good stuff. Let's see. Now I'm hopping over to Instagram, looking at this information here and questions that are on here. Most of the questions I'm answering so far have been through YouTube and Facebook. Excuse me. 100% authentic and honest. I love it. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. I can't put these questions up on the board. That's okay. So hopefully that answered those questions well enough. If there's any other questions, right now I have 100% of the questions answered, so that's good. Can't post comments to somebody. So I'm going to continue on with that. What time is it? Man, 45 minutes raced by. That's because I like to talk. Let's see. Yeah, so I just want to go touch back on client vetting. So I made myself a list of things I wanted to talk about based upon, the pooled data. When people reach out to us and the things that they actually want to get for the coaching, it's important to keep logs of the questions that you're asking, so you can kind of, know, obviously when other people get a hold of you, there's questions that they might not think of, and I want to make sure that when I'm talking to anyone, that I'm presenting the possible things that they might think about. And vetting clients seems to be the number one concern that people have. Like, how do I actually do it, and how do I get the more clients? And part of that's advertising, obviously, and getting your name out there. And what I suggest to new dog trainers, and they've always found this very helpful, is you need to partner with the rescues, you need to partner with the humane societies, the good ones. I'm very pointed about that. Not all of them are the same. We partner with excellent ones. Anybody that we've ever partnered with, we've taken that very, very seriously. But the value of partnering with a rescue, I'll just walk you through this, and I think that this is very helpful. You're a new dog trainer. You don't have any clients, so you start working with a rescue. And you go in there, and regardless of whatever you're doing, the key thing that you're looking for is to develop relationships with the dog. So there's a dog, Harvey. You go there, you're working with Harvey. You've got a great relationship. You've taught him simple things: sit down, come here, place. You've got him, stellar. He knows you, he respects you, and you have a really good relationship with him. Harvey gets adopted. Who are they going to come to for the transition? So when you go into the rescue, you're saying, look, I'm going to train this dog so that this dog becomes more adoptable. Because the reality is, if you have two identical dogs and they're sitting side by side and they're both cute and friendly and they're great, but one is trained and one is not, the trained one is always going to get picked first. It's just, that makes sense. Now I'm sure people will come back and be like, I don't think about that, I think, whatever. The reality is, most people are going to pick that trained dog over the other one. And so, that said, you're creating a relationship with the dog, and you're telling the rescue at that point, when the dog gets adopted, I want to work with the new owners. I will give them, a session so that they can understand what I did, why I did it, how I did it, so the transition for Harvey, the dog, can be much more successful. Most rescues are going to turn around and love that because it's going to help from having the dogs returned to the rescue. The dog's going to have a better transitional period because when they go to live with their new owners, they're going to have you kind of babysitting them and like, oh, I know you, I know this person, and you know everything's okay. They're going to be calmer. Whatever cue words, marker words that you're using, you can teach the new owners to use those, which again is going to ideally make the dog more comfortable. So you are transitioning with that dog, and then that becomes an opportunity for you to potentially sell more services and just be like, look, I always give one service for free because I want to make sure that the dog transitions as well as possible. But if you find yourself needing additional help, give me a call and we can book a session with you. Doesn't that make like perfect sense to be able to do that and be able to have, an instant in because you're the person that knows the dog the best? So many trainers don't do that, and I don't understand it. Some of them, when they first heard that idea, they're like, yeah, but I'm giving up my time and I'm not booking another client. And then I come back and I say, but are you booking clients? I mean, you're quite literally talking to me because you don't have any clients, so what are you doing with your time? Why not invest it honing your skill, helping a dog, using that for social media presence because you're going to film what's going on, and then walking down that path to success with the new owners. And then when the owners adopt the dog and they're like, this dog was amazing, Sarah helped my dog and this is just incredible, Joe helped my dog and this is incredible, why would you not have that in your back pocket? So the word of mouth and the way that you want to have those referrals, you're going to be able to get. So that's something that every dog trainer should be implementing, even if you're well established. Having the give back, this is what I'm doing to give back to the community. All of that's newsworthy, and things that are newsworthy is free advertisement. So you should be doing those things to grow your brand. Let's see. Good question. For those that are dog trainers looking to start their own business and want to certify, do they need to go through the whole program? It's the coaching also a standalone program. So the coaching, this is a great question, so thank you, Jay. The coaching is part of level 1, and yes, whether you're an established dog trainer or not, you're not doing the Method Canine program unless you're doing the whole program. That's a standard that we've set. I preach to people standards all the time. So any client that we have that I talk to, our standards are top. And the reason why we go through that is because what we're producing in the dogs that we're training, what we're producing in the clients that we're training, and what we're producing in the students that we're training is exceptional. So when you bear the stamp of approval of Method Canine and you're a Method Canine certified dog trainer, we want to make sure that you're representing our brand the same way that we do. And to make sure that we're having that, you have to have a full understanding of what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it. So even though there's trainers out there that are, understanding of, the basics of how they train their dogs, you need to know how we do it if we're going to put our stamp of approval on it. So everybody's required to go through 1, 2, 3, and 4 if they want to become a master level certified trainer. If they just want to have a level 1 certified dog trainer badge from us, designation, then they could just do level 1. The business coaching that's in level 1 is just available in level 1. It's not a requirement because some people don't need it. Some people have their established dog training business. They're just looking to be partnered with our brand because our brand is recognized worldwide, and they want that because clients want it. So the value of having that we know is exceptional. As far as the business coaching, we've toyed with the idea of making a standalone program, which would be much more polished and everything like that. But I'm hesitant to do that because I like the fact that it's gated behind our certification, because it's already there, it's already valuable, and I don't want to take that from our students at this point. Not to say that that would be unreasonable, and we're still a business, and I think that there's definitely some value to having that. So it's on the table of discussion, but it's not something that I'm willing to remove from our students at this point in time as far as the exclusivity, and I think our students appreciate that. Information like this, these kinds of lives where we're giving out similar information, obviously people aren't paying for this time, it's just our time that we're happy to give. but we'll see. So right now, if you wanted specific coaching to your own business or how you're doing it, you can book private sessions with me. Go to methodcanine.com and then click on the link, and you can do that to schedule that specific time. That's a great question, though. This is another great question. How do we approach the centers, rescues, and vet offices? I love it. I love this question. Angel, this is a phenomenal question. So the reason why it's so great is you need to stand out. Every dog trainer is going to the local, vet and saying, can I put my card out here? Can you give my card out here? The reason why we got our cards given to everybody, and I know that this is the truth, is because we came with gifts, cheap gifts. I'd go buy 30 dozen donuts from Krispy Kreme, and I would, depending upon the size, I would call up the veterinarian's office, and I would say, hey, my name is Julius Vachinsky. We own Method Canine. A lot of our clients are your clients, and we just want to say thank you because our clients really rave about the services that you offer. We want to drop off some donuts. When would be the best time to do it? And they would tell me when. Don't go there right when they open up because they have all the people jamming up the doors right when they go in. 10 o'clock, 10:30, I always thought was great. And the person that you want to deal with is not the veterinarian. Don't waste your time trying to get their time. Don't waste their time soliciting that. Don't do it. Go in there and talk to the receptionist. They are the powerhouse. Anybody that knows Carrie knows that Carrie is basically in charge. I mean, we do what she tells us to do, and that's kind of what it is. That's the person you want to talk to because that's the person that's going to be handing out your information. So when you come in and you drop off 2 dozen donuts or however many donuts to make sure everybody in there has an opportunity to get a donut, and in that thing, they would open it up, and in there, I would tape to the inside of the thing, thank you so very much for Method Canine, and that would be it. And then usually in that packet of information about who we are and what we're doing, there's cards. I never actually asked them, can you hand out our cards? I just give that to them with a thank you, and that's my opportunity. We have had so many people come into us because they got our card. Why? Because we're the ones that said thank you. So you can't just approach with a handout. You have to be willing to give something. That is a tactic that we've used with everybody, and it's genuine because I don't want to go to some place and without some type of connection. So every client that you have, you should be saying, your dog, if the dog looks like it's in good health at all, say that. Say, your dog looks really great. Who do you use as a veterinarian? Well, I use so-and-so over here. Okay, great. You catalog that information, you call them without giving up your client's information. I have a client, that uses you because we never want to lie. We don't want to misrepresent. But once you have that in and say, my client is your client, that's our connection, okay? And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to give you the donuts to say thank you. And I actually had, I know that this works because I had a veterinarian clinic reach out and said, hey, they were super cute about it. Said, hey, yeah, this is so-and-so from, the local place. Yeah, we were running low on donuts. We were running low on business cards. Oh, okay, no problem. And I went and got donuts and brought them over to them again with another stack of our cards. That's super helpful. So that's something that you should do. It's a method that really works. It's endearing. It shows that you're caring about their time, that you're not looking to waste their time. You're walking in. You're not talking to them. You're just saying, hey, I just wanted to drop this off. Thank you so much. You're in and you're out, so you're not, being that nagging, hey, this is this is what I do, and I train dogs. And, could you please put up my card? And I have no reason to be here other than the fact that I'm begging you to give out my business card. There's no reason they should do that. But if you have connection and you have value to them and you're taking time to say thank you for doing this for me, those are all great things. Now, in addition to that, and I don't have one here, and I apologize, you should create a different business card. Don't drop off 3.5 by 4, whatever they are, business cards. That's an absolute waste of your time. Go to, and this is the company that we use, it's called Print Runner. I love them because super fast delivery, excellent. Or you can go to FedEx or Kinko's or wherever, that does this type of stuff. But you should be creating a thing called a club card. So they're typically used, and they have been used for like, a club that was opening up. They're typically 4x6, so 4 inches by 6 inches. And you should do it in a vertical presentation because, at least in my opinion, it looks best. But you should be able to put all of your information on there. And so everything that you're doing, the services that you offer and everything, you should do front and back. You can design it yourself. It's super simple. And then what you do is you bring that. And that's the thing that you give to them. Why? Because business cards get tossed. Business cards get shoved in a pocket. A 4x6 thing, not so much. They're less likely to get lost. They're more visible. And you want people to take that. And while they're sitting in the waiting room, they're looking at it. And all of your information is on there, right? Your website, a QR code, something they scan on their phone, bring them right to your website. All of that should be done so it makes it very simple for their client to contact and access you and understand what's going on. In addition, and this is just, I love this and everybody should do it. When you design the club card, you leave a blank white space on that card. And the reason why you do that is you go to the specific, so we're going to A Street Veterinarian Clinic, vet clinic. And on that white section of the card, you're going to either write in or ideally have it be large enough that you could put a label of your own, or a stamp really is amazing. Excuse me. But you're going to put information on there. And if you do put a label, don't have it be a white garbage label. Have it be a clear label. You can get clear inkjet or laser labels, or have something professionally made so that it looks nice. But you're going to put on the label that veterinarian clinic information. So A Street Vet Clinic, $100 off, or a free consultation, or whatever. You're going to give that hook into that. When you put that on your club card that you're giving to the veterinarian office with your donuts, and this applies to anybody that you're approaching, but when you give this to them, the value that they're getting is now they have something that they're going to give to a client over, Sally from down the street dog training, who just gave them a business card, because on your card, they're getting additional value. Because you're a client of this specific facility, we're going to give this to you because we partner with them. Why? Because we know the value of it, because one of our other clients has a dog. So if you're not doing this, these are simple, cheap, easy ways for you to push your way to the head of the line, and they're going to give out the card, your information over somebody else's. And these are just, super simple ways to get that to happen. So hopefully that answers your question. Let's see. Would it be possible? Would this be possible to train the rescue dogs without fostering them? Fostering sometimes takes money. Yeah, I'm not suggesting at all that you foster. I'm suggesting that you physically go there at a prescribed time. You contact the rescue and say, "Hey, look, I want to train this dog." If the rescue doesn't have a facility for you to work with, where you're able to go in and train a dog that might be kenneled there, then say, "I want to work with the people." So whoever is fostering your dog, I will go there and I will train those people and I will train the dog. Now, you got to be careful with this, because a lot of fosters are foster fails, and that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So there's nothing wrong with you honing your skills and training somebody, but the further goal is, if you are looking to, and again, I handle the business side of it, right? So I would be remiss if I did not give information that helped people to make money. You want to make sure that the situation is set up for success, that when somebody adopts, that you are going to potentially get some additional value out of it, where you might be able to sell some sessions, or sell some training, or whatever the case might be, a class or something like that. So the foster scenarios are great, but make sure that there's a full understanding. If the person is actually looking to adopt the dog, then you would go do a couple of free sessions or whatever, and then work that out with them after the fact. I'd love to continue training your dog. I'm going to give you a discount. This is what I'm going to give to you because you're associated with this rescue, and it's going to be less than what the average person would pay. There's nothing wrong with that. But your goal is, especially in the beginning, to have success stories. And when you have those success stories, you want it to be tied to organizations that have dogs coming through their care over and over and over again, because you're the person that they want to, oh yeah, so-and-so, Jessica comes to our facility over and over, works with all of our dogs, she's wonderful, and this is who we're going to recommend for your training. Because it's not just the people or not just the dogs that are coming through their care, but anybody that might be talking to. So again, Sally runs a shelter. Bobby calls up Sally and says, hey, look, I just got a dog, and I really need some training. Whether or not you worked with, oh, you know what, Jessica, she trains all the dogs for us, comes in, she volunteers, she's wonderful. Give her a call. That's what you want. And the only way that you get it is by establishing those relationships. So if you're going to have to do something, I would rather somebody work with those kinds of organizations and invest their time, which time is money, than paying for advertising that's probably going nowhere. Because you want the clout. You want somebody to recommend you. Because think about it, you can go on the internet and find a dog trainer, but it's totally different if somebody says, so-and-so, Stephanie Vichinsky trained my dog, and that's what we go for. And I tell the clients this, our goal when we train your dog is to help your dog be so phenomenal that when somebody says, wow, your dog is amazing, the first words out of your mouth, Stephanie Vichinsky Method Canine, best money I ever spent. And that's what we want for you as well. We want you to go ahead and have that opportunity as well. And the only way that you get that is by developing those relationships. So don't waste money on advertising. All of the business that we've had, we did spend money on advertising a few years ago, and it was absolute waste. So if the advertising company is watching right now and just happened to be clicking over, it was an absolute waste. Totally wasted our money. Now, I love people, and I'm telling you that was a terrible experience, absolute waste, only negative review I ever left, and may the good Lord forgive me for ranting about that, but that was just a horrible scenario. Then we went with another company, and they were great, but again, couldn't produce anything for us. Worked with them for several months. They were wonderful, but Stephanie made one post and did $100,000 in sales. We worked with them for 2 months and got zero sales. We're actually entering into a contract with a new guy now who we're hoping the best. But I'm not a fan of paying for advertising. If you're going to take money and say, this is the amount of money that I would lot for advertising, use that in free time training dogs. That's going to help you out way better than anything else. So, yeah. How can we go about furthering an aggression specialist title with financial constraints through Method Canine? That's a very fair question. Mike Lynn, I think that's how you pronounce your name. That's a lovely name. With a name like Julius Vichinsky, I'm super sensitive to the way that names are pronounced. So, time. So she's got another question I'm going to touch on here in just a moment. As far as that, we have a lot of different opportunities for people that want to move forward, with training. We have some really exciting things that are coming up in the next 6 months. They're in position, everything's approved, everything's worked out nicely, but I'm not going to start mentioning it. We're not going to, promote anything until it's all done, because we're just not fans of doing that. Even with our, when we went through the VA financing and got all that done, that took about a year. They were phenomenal. Idaho State VA education people, those people, I think her name was Beth, phenomenal experience. I was expecting it to be a nightmare. They were awesome. But, we were hoping it would take a couple months. It took almost a year. So, again, we don't like to announce things until it's actually in, but we're constantly looking to evolve that. We do have in-house financing. So if you're dedicated, you want to go through it, we can come up with a solution for you that's going to work. So anybody that's in a situation where they're like, you know what, I don't have the money up front to do it, we have solutions. We're a business. I'm responsible for that. We have responsibilities like everybody else, but our goal is to make sure that this works for people. So if there's a special circumstance, send me an email, julius@methodcanine.com, and we'll figure out what we can do in order to help you. Our goal really is to make sure that anybody that wants to do these programs have the ability to do so, have access to us. And so do that. Let's see. Jay Smith loves the information. Thank you so much. Is it important to invest in polished cards? What about digital cards? Here's the thing. Digital cards are fine, but the problem is that a large percentage of people that you're going to be dealing with are going to be an age group. I'm 50, I'll be 51 in June. So many of our clients are 60 plus, 70 plus, 80 plus. They don't want to deal with that. It's not their thing. So it's great to have that also, but you should invest in the cards that I'm advising you to invest in, or something similar, even if it's something that you make yourself, if it's a concern about the finances. Because the reality is that most people want something that they can hold on to, and you want them to have something that they can read in the office. The tech savvy people are going to look at that. They're going to snap a picture of it. They're going to bring the QR code. They're going to have everything that they need. Those people who are not tech savvy, they're going to want something to hold on to. One of our clients that came through that was repeat business was an older lady who, absolutely darling, had a lot of dogs, and she just sent her dogs to us. Just, I got another dog, got another dog, got another dog. The people that have the expendable income that are going to be willing to pay for these services, like we had one lady that came in that she had a dog, and it was a 3-pound Chinese crested, and she wanted this dog. She said, I'm not going to be alive for as long as this dog is going to live. I want this dog trained for my granddaughter. And that was her investment. That was a phone call that we fielded. That wasn't one where she did our online stuff and jumped through any of that type of stuff. She was like, 89 at the time or something like that. And that was the thing. She called up and she's like, look, I don't really do the internet and this and that. And, and that was an accommodation we made, and we talked to her, and it was great. It was phenomenal. We didn't lose that sale because we made that, we figured out, this was important. You don't want to lose business because you're only going to the digital side. If that's what you're looking for, you're going to exclude too many people. So you need to have a happy balance between the two. That's my advice on that. Yeah, I'll put this, let me see, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to put the name, printrunner.com. All right, I posted in the chat the name of the company that we use. It's printrunner.com. I love them. We've used them for so many things, banners. They're exceptional. The cost is great, and the shipping is great. And they have so many different places that they have throughout the U.S. The shipping is exceptionally quick. So, yeah, I love them. So that is a question. Okay, this is a really good question again from Michael Lynn. So I'm happy to hear about your comments on not wasting money, but what about time? I live in an area where there's so much misinformation, and a lot of the handlers aren't as committed as they think they are. I'm trying to understand the fine line between advocacy and overstepping boundaries to brick walls. I totally get that. I think that's a great question. This is where vetting anyone that you work with is so valuable. You don't want to get in the weeds and waste your time arguing with people that are never going to be on the same page as you. When we first started doing, especially with social media, there's tons of people, look at your stuff, and everybody's got something they want to complain about. And there's those people that's just their goal. They just want to argue. Don't waste your time with it. So when we work with anyone, one of the roles and responsibilities I have is to investigate who we're working with. If I'm concerned about the individual, concerned about the company, if there's red flags there, then we don't move forward with them. And I know that that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, because especially when you're first starting out, or your business is kind of paycheck to paycheck. I get it, but I can't stress it enough that is something that is a fundamental understanding that everybody should have when they're getting into this specific kind of business is you simply can't work with everybody, because too many people out there aren't going to do the work that you need them to do. They're coming in with a predisposition. This is my idea about the way that things are supposed to be. And you have to say, what are the things I'm unwilling, what are the standards that I have that I'm unwilling to compromise on? And so we've dealt with people that came in and they wanted to tell us how we were going to do stuff. We had one lady that wanted us to use different marker words. The answer to that question is no. Now, some people say, well, why don't you just use the... Now, I'm not talking about training in a different language. We have people that come in that are German. We have people that come in that are French. If we need to accommodate that because that's what you speak, fine, that's not a problem. However, wanting us to use nonsense, and I'm not going to be specific, but we've had people that have gotten a hold of us that wanted us to sing ridiculous songs to their dog, for replacing our methodology with what they think they want because it's cute or funny or whatever. That's just ridiculous, and it's something that we're unwilling to do because we're teaching a method, hence the name Method Canine. So one of the things that you want to do is make sure that you're not compromising that. If you find yourself in a position where you're wanting to work with a company or organization or whatever, and they're like, we don't want you training the way that you train, we want you to train the way that we want you to train. Everything within reason. You don't want us to use a prong collar, you want me to use a separate, fine. Don't want you using e-collar, fine. We're not tool reliant. For as many people think that we are, our company is not tool reliant. You should be able to train a dog. Tools are great, but you should be able to train the dog ideally without the tools, and not be reliant on them. If the tool has to be there to do the work, then there's more effort, there's more training that needs to be done, hopefully to get the dog calm and coachable. And all cases are different, so I'm not getting in the weeds of that. I'm not a dog trainer, but I know what we do and why we do it and our philosophy behind it. Now that said, once you make a decision on whether or not you want to move with the company, it's a good fit, you should be interviewing them. How do you guys feel about this? How do you feel? Anything that's a key feature for you. I train the dogs this way. I don't treat train. I don't clicker train. I don't do that. I work with dogs. With food lore, working with their daily meal or whatever. But we're not pumping treats. We're not busting out the Treat Master 5000 and throwing treats all over the floor and doing crazy things to get the dog to respond. Whatever your methodology is, you have got to put that in a clear and concise format so that you can deliver that to whoever it is that you might be working with, and they have to understand that. Another thing I would follow up is, whatever your training methodology is, when you have that understanding, I would put it in writing. You understand and agree that we train this way, and you're allowing me to train this way. And if they're not allowing you to do it, then don't. Don't change your methodologies. And if you are in an area where it's kind of unfortunate, where there is so much information, be the voice of reason. Don't worry about what other people are saying and how they're doing it, and worrying about fighting that fight for the people that don't want to understand, because you're going to have that. But talk to the people who are interested in understanding your point of view and your philosophy and methodology. If it's sound, and I know the Method Canine philosophy is sound, and that's one of the reasons why we have people contacting us regularly looking for Method Canine certified dog trainers in their area, then it's one of those scenarios where there is no argument. You are the expert and that's it. Now, we could all learn, and there's always things that you can learn, and yes, we have all of that. But once you have a solid plan, don't deviate from it. So I can talk to you more about that if you have any other questions and whatnot. Very curious to hear about our vetting process. So again, going back to that, I talked about that a little bit earlier. Every client has got to come through that process, meaning that, so your client, you call up our office, Carrie's going to answer the phone, and she's going to be amazing, and she's going to tell you essentially what's going on, and she's going to have a conversation with you. Then you need to go to our website and fill out a contact form. If you're unwilling to fill out that contact form, we don't chase you. So there's not going to be follow-up phone calls. We're not, the question about how about vesting time, we do not chase anyone. If I have to chase you, you're not my client. If I have to chase you, I don't want you as a client. Because if I have to beg you to do anything, I don't want to deal with you. I don't want you to have to deal with my wife. I don't want you to have to deal with Hope. And the reason for that is if you're unwilling to do what little we're asking you to do, you're never going to do the big stuff. And if you're not going to do the big stuff, your dog training, no matter how well we train your dog, it's not going to stick. And if it's not going to stick, when the dog fails publicly, you're going to blame us. And that is just a fact. Now, we've had people go through our program, go through an 8-week board and train, spend all that money, and then the dog needs, some additional help. And we've had awesome clients that reach out to us and said, look, I have not had the time to work with my dog. I'd love to send my dog back to you for a refresher. Great, that's another service that we offer, and we understand that. People have lives. Not everybody has the time to invest into, all of the hardcore, consistent training, especially if they have a difficult case. But the reality is, those people are willing but unable to do the work, right? The doctors, the lawyers, the paramedics, moms who have, a lot of stuff going on, who, love their dog and but I've got kids and I'm running to soccer and I'm doing, whatever the reason is, it's not an issue of willingness. And that's the key motivator for me. If I hear that the people are willing, but they're unable, we can work with that. But if they're unwilling, you can't change that, and the dog is just going to have problems, and the investment that you're making into that client is going to come back to you as a failure, and that's just not something we want for anybody. So again, vetting the clients, if they call in, they're directed to the website. If they go to the website, they have to fill out the contact form. If they fill out the contact form and it's done poorly, meaning that they give one-word answers for everything, depending upon what it is, if they're like, my dog bit someone, board and train, I just want to have a phone call, Carrie will call them. I don't call them yet. Carrie will call them and say, hey, look, want to let you know we need something more thorough from you because there's a lot of time that we're investing into this and this is the information that we need. Well, if I have to do all that, it's not worth it. Great. Have a nice day. See you later. And we don't deal with them. We don't chase after them. We don't beg them. We don't want, none of that is done because it's an absolute waste of our time because they're unwilling. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem at all. I'll go fill out another one, whatever. They do it. That shows us they're willing. Now they make it to the next step. I read over their contact forms. Carrie does it now. Reads over it, and depending upon what service they're offering is whether or not they continue speaking to her or they continue speaking to me. If the dog has bit anyone, it has to be a board and train. Well, not all the time, but we have some other things that we're able to offer now, but in the past it was that. They'd get an email. So if they're asking for, I want to do a group class, but my dog has bitten, someone, you can't do a group class. You can do private sessions, maybe, depending upon what actually happened, but you can't do a group class. Why? Because your dog bit someone. So it's unsafe. So then they would get a follow-up email from us explaining, and it's a canned email that we have. It's a board and train is the only option is what we call it. And then we send them an email saying, look, appreciate the fact that you're looking for your dog to have a class, to do a group class. Board and train is the only option, and this is why. Your dog exhibited this behavior. It's unsafe to have your dog in this type of environment. It wouldn't be conducive to training. We need your dog to be calm and coachable. And we have justifiable information on why this is the only thing. If you want to, explore that option, click the link, and we'll go ahead and schedule a phone call with me at that point. And then that's an hour and a half phone call.
You're going to take the dogs home and get them all set up for the night.
Okay, you okay? Okay. Am I taking too long?
No, but I'll see you in a while because they're going to take a while.
Okay, all right, I love you.
Love you.
That's my beautiful wife who is going to, go potty our dogs right now because our dogs are here with us. Anyway, getting back to the phone call situation, then they would have a phone call with me. That phone call takes an hour and a half. If they are unwilling to listen to what I have to say, I don't contract with them. And I tell them that. I'll be like, hey, you know what? I really appreciate your time tonight, but I don't think that this is going to be a good fit. And then that's a tough conversation to have for some people. It's not tough for me anymore, but I think that once you get past the initial shock of saying that to somebody, well, what do you mean you're not going to work with me? Well, there's a lot of information that we need, and you're either being, and I just tell them pointedly, I just, you know, not that I don't care, but I tell them respectfully, but very pointedly, well, you know, I'm asking you, but you're being evasive. You said your dog bit, but your dog is wonderful. You're justifying the dog's behavior, and I'm trying to educate you on why these things need to change, and it doesn't sound like you want that change. You just want me to tell you that your dog is okay and this behavior is okay. And I just say, so this isn't going to be a good fit because we're going to need you to do what we need to do. And then I go into the standards and I explain to them, you know, the expectation. So, you know, if you're unable to do everything that we're asking you to do, it's not going to be a good fit because the expectation on you is going to be great. I've had people say, I really appreciate you letting me know. Yeah, no, that's not what we want. You know, we're hoping this will be a quick fix. Okay, great. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate it. That's not, you know, what we're offering. We have, unfortunately, a bunch of people that will call us, and what they want from us is for us to tell them it's okay for them to euthanize their dog. I hate those phone calls. I'm like, you know, so you're not calling us for training. You're telling me how horrible your dog is, and you're telling me that you've already made the decision to euthanize your dog, and I'm telling you that based upon the information that you've given us, your dog can receive help. You know, well, you know, that's not what I was looking for. So you get a lot of those things, and you just kind of have to roll with it, but you know, you have got to get yourself to the point where you are absolutely willing to tell somebody that you're not going to be working with them. It's not discrimination. It's just, this isn't a good fit, and that's what you tell them. Why? Because what I need you to do, it's evident that you're not willing to do it. And I give you the first time that we ever had that problem was we actually had a couple come to our house many, many years ago when we first started. They had a dog, a Siberian Husky, that had bit the neighbor child 4 times through the fence. They came over from the middle of the state of Washington. They drove over and came into our house. We were sitting with them. The wife was like a cardiac nurse, and the husband was some type of, I don't remember what he was, architect or something. He worked from home. He was the primary caregiver for the dog. And Stephanie was I was sitting at the head of the table. The other gentleman was at the other head of the table, and Stephanie and the wife were on the side of the table talking. And never forget it. Steph was explaining in great detail what was going on and what was expected of them, and I was watching both of them, and the gentleman was somewhat engaged, and as Stephanie was explaining the depth of what they were going to need to do in order to work through this barrier of aggression and make sure the dog didn't bite the neighbor child, the guy started rolling his eyes. And at that moment, because my role is to make sure that our company is protected, that my wife is protected, and that we're not going to have a situation where people are, again, not doing what they need to do, I said, I'm so sorry. I just got to ask you. I said, I know as my wife is talking about what you guys are going to need to do, how do you feel about that? And he was very pointed. He said, my life is not going to change. I'm too busy. This is my wife's dog. My life is not going to change as a result of what's going on with this dog. The wife bursts into tears. I mean, it was horrible, you know, like very awkward. And I said, okay. I said, you know, this isn't going to be a good fit. And I just took over at that point. So Stephanie is the head of our company. She's the face of the company. But my responsibility is the business side of it. And we have very specific lines drawn that when either of us makes a judgment call that stops business, it is just what it is. So if I made that judgment call and I said we're not going to move forward with this at this point in time, and there was no argument about it, she's done the same thing where I'm like, this actually sounds good, but she had a red flag, and we just, okay, that's just the way that it is. And that check system that we have, that checks and balances, really works out well. But anyway, and it was the first time we had somebody tell us that money was no object, and you know, how much? That was his answer to me. How much? It was a little offensive at the time, but it was also a little exciting at the time because it was like, you're really willing to pay us more? And he offered almost double our fee, and we said no. And again, because of standards. And so they went home, and before they went home, we actually talked to them and said, you know, this scenario, if you're the primary caregiver, your wife works like 80 hours a week, this isn't going to be a good fit. You really need to think about rehoming the dog. The dog is helpable, but needs somebody there to be caring for the dog. We talked to them about that. One of the rescues that we partnered with, we called, this is a situation, can you please take this dog? And they said yes. They took the dog. The dog got rehomed. The dog wound up coming to our board and train. The new owners knew about us. They actually brought the dog. We're like blown away by this. Dog went through board and train. Everything was great. And the owners of that dog called us like 6 or 8 months later and said, you know, we didn't realize how much that scenario was affecting us or affecting our marriage. And rehoming so-and-so was really the best thing that we can do. We would like to get a dog, but we need help picking one out. We got a hold of the same rescue, talked to them, they partnered up, got them, I don't remember what it was, honestly, a golden or a lab, that was just like, love me, I'm just gonna chill out at home. I mean, it was like the perfect example of why we did what we did and how we did it, and the perfect ending to the whole story. It was just amazing. But the reason why I share this with you is all of that comes from, you have to be bold, you have to be willing to tell people no, you have to be willing to give them whatever help that you can give them if you have those connections, to get the best solution for the dog, and then the owners as well. And if you do all of that, it really can come back in a positive way, and we experienced that, and it was just like I said, it was just a perfect resolution to that entire scenario, and we didn't lose business. I mean that was just another huge bonus. Anyway, that's the story regarding that. Oh, look at this wonderful person, Angela Marie Hamlin, saying that I'm amazing and that she loves listening to my business advice. Angeli, I just feel so connected to you. God bless you. You're amazing, and that's my cousin-in-law. She's wonderful. They do amazing woodwork. Her husband's just absolutely amazing. Gotta love him and their family. So really good people. Let's see. How do we process the grief of dogs? This is an amazing question. You're just hitting them out of the park. How do we process the grief of dogs that you visibly see need help and are having to endure inappropriate pressure without your guidance? This is kind of one of those things where we have to defer to whether or not the guidance is wanted. We go to the park, we go to places, we see people with their dogs, and we're always willing to give people free advice, but not everybody's interested in that. Some people think that their aggressive dog is just okay. Some people think that the way that their dog is behaving is just okay. Some people think that the way that they're behaving, and this is probably more often than not the case, the way that they're behaving, that is okay with the dog. Taunting the dog, different things like that, things that just don't need to happen, encouraging bad behaviors. We've seen it all. Unfortunately, we live in a society where you're kind of limited on what you're able to do. So we just look at it in the sense that if the people are willing, again, this all goes back to willingness. If they're willing to hear good advice, then we're willing to give it. If they're unwilling to hear good advice, then there's no value in you wasting your breath. And I hate that it's that way, because you always want to see people and you want to see these dogs and you want to help them and get them to be their best and have them, but the other portion of it too is, we can't tie everything to the dollar. We're a business. I handle the business, and I'm very pointed about that we look to be profitable. We want to be able to do good things, but with that success, we have to, again, temper that with giving. And so we do a lot of giving, and we don't really talk about it very much because we believe in not having the right hand know what the left hand is doing, and we don't want to have something that comes off self-glorifying. But there's a lot of times where, people don't have the means, but they still need the help. And so if you're able to do that, and that's one of the reasons why, we have the online programming, and that's another way that we vet whether or not we're going to give additional help. So if somebody comes to us and they're like, I can't train my dog, and I need help, and my dog's got these issues and whatnot, and can you offer me anything for free? We'll offer them the online program, like the basic foundation, and we'll give that to them. If they do it and they still need help, more often than not, we'll actually bring them in, if they're local especially. bring them in for private sessions, or we'll do something via Zoom if they need additional help. If they don't do it, and they call me back crying again in a couple of months, my dog's still not better, and, well, I went through the online programming that I gave. I see that you watched, 20 minutes of the first, section. You haven't done anything else. Well, I really don't have the time. Why don't you have the time? Well, well, why? You have a legitimate reason? We can have that conversation. You don't, and you just sat on your hands. So I'm a huge fan of merit-based help. If you're willing to do the work, I can't preach that enough. Everything should be, not everything, but most of it should be judged on that. Do I partner with this person? Do I help this person? Is it a one person, is it a one person or a two person load to bear? A one person thing is, I've got my dog, I've got the time to train my dog, but I just don't, because other stuff is more important. That's a one person problem. A two person problem is, my dog is acting up, I've got, some kids, I've got, a job, I'm working 2 jobs, I really want to give my dog the best life, I just don't have the means to do it. I've got a lot of responsibilities, I don't make money, whatever. I'm willing. That's a 2-person job. That means we can come in and help. So, you always want to be able to do that, but you have to temper everything. Let's see. Man, Jessica, you're just amazing. Always with the help. Said that did a great job. So glad she tuned in. Will I be doing another one? I think so. This is way more successful than I thought it was going to be. Most people are here for Stephanie. Who wants to see me? Let's see. This is a very nice comment. So grateful for all your advice and support. Helped me immensely. I can't wait to work with you guys. You and your wife are such a powerful team. So grateful and knowledge. So passionate about sharing. Thank you. We are very passionate about sharing what we know, because there is so much misinformation and so many people that just, I don't know. There's a lot of bitterness in this world, and one of the greatest things that we can offer to anybody that we're working with is love. You can say anything to anybody if you say it with love. You can approach anybody about anything if you approach them with love. If there's a great deal of care and consideration in your heart for what's going on, and you're sincere, like truly sincere about it, I believe in my heart that if you bring that, if you're bringing them love, this is the love, this is what I'm giving to you, this is why I'm giving it to you, is to help you have the best life that you can have, regardless of what the subject matter is. Dog training, personal stuff, cooking, cleaning, whatever it is, whatever's going on in life, if you approach it with a loving attitude, you say, I want this person to feel the love that's within my heart, then I believe that you're going to be able to be successful with it. Now, that's a little ooey gooey, yeah, I get it, but I absolutely believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly, without any reservation, that the only thing that I want for people to experience from me is the good Lord that lives within me, and that goodness and that love that I know comes from that. Everything else is secondary, so we don't get to bring any of this with us. So let's see. Awesome. Yeah, if you have questions about the certifications, reach out to us, send us an email. Just go online, all the information is there. If you want to pull the trigger and don't have the immediate funds to do it, contact us, because we have in-house financing, and we love to offer that out to people. We offered that because we used to have a firm through our checkout provider, and they were like crazy interest, and we didn't want to have that for people. We wanted to be able to. So we have options. Let us know what you need. We're happy to help you out. Going back over to Instagram, because I saw a couple of pretty big questions or comments and stuff like that. I'm going to go back over there really quick. All right. Let's see. Thank you so very much for showing our time and everything. You're quite welcome. I've used DOT cards, and they are not that great. Yeah, I mean, the club cards that we've used, we've had exceptional success with. So again, I call it a club card, and it's through Print Runner. If you actually go on there and look it up, you can see it. I think it's a 4x6 card. Pretty heavyweight, glossy, front and back, full color. Really can't go wrong with that. So we have one person that advised, I told this one man I wouldn't work with him. He sent me a scathing, insulting message about how I wasn't good enough anyway. Thanks for confirming my assessment of you. Yeah, people are going to do that. And in the beginning, it's hard to take. And as a husband, right, I love my wife, I adore my wife. My wife is first in my life, second only to God. And adoring her the way that I do, and loving her the way that I do, and having a role and responsibility in her life to protect her. I never want her to experience any hurt or any angst or anything, right? And the social media can be an evil thing. You know, the harsh things that people say, the disgusting things that people say. You know, to go through it and actually look at some of the horrible, horrible stuff, viciously evil, disgusting things that people have said, as a husband, you know, really gets the fire going. And so I had to learn the way that she did, to take that stuff with a grain of salt, and not let it affect you the way that it so can easily can. But here's the deal. If you know, had somebody that you told them that you wouldn't work with them, and obviously you're doing it professionally, and then they send you, you know, a nasty email, that's the reason you don't want to work with them, right? If you're telling somebody, hey, this isn't a good fit, and I like that verbiage because it's a soft touch way of saying I'm not going to work with you. But if you advise them and then they immediately come back viciously, what would happen to you if you did train their dog and then their dog, you know, bit someone because they were acting a fool? What's going to happen to you at that point? So take the words, the nasty words, as an affirmation that you did the right thing in walking away from them. Yeah, I'm so glad that you see that, because people can be real fools, and you know, unfortunately, I've dealt with a bunch of them. I keep getting the bad. Here's a question. I keep getting the bad fit. Are there any points of finding the right people? I get flooded with aggressive bite cases that I'm not ready to take. So, yeah, the vetting process that we have. So this is the way that I want to look at it. You have a pool of potential clients, right? When we first started, and Stephanie said, look, I need your help. Bear with me for a moment. When Stephanie first told me that she needed help, I had to learn this business. So I made her do the first contact calls while I created a script of information that were, you know, the normal key questions that people were asking and all that type of stuff. And as I started handling the questions myself, and we started getting a lot of notoriety, there was a time where from 8:30 in the morning to like 7:30 at night, I had back-to-back-to-back phone calls. So hundreds of phone calls a month. And it was crazy. And what happened was, most of those people didn't become a client. Once we got to pricing, once we got to other stuff, so I was talking for, you know, and I was trying to dial my phone calls down to a point where I was like 25, 28 minutes, timing my phone calls, getting my script together, really driving the sales. I got to sell this person. And the value of changing it to the online questionnaire in advance tells me immediately whether or not I even want to talk to that person. If they have unrealistic goals, they send in a contact form, and their goals are unrealistic, or it's a service that we weren't offering. So we get lots of contact forms. People say, I want you to train my service dog. We don't do that. I want you to train my service dog, my emotional support animal. We don't do that. We can train your dog. We can train it to be calm and coachable and all that type of stuff. But if you're looking for, no, I want you to provide me a certification for my dog that's an emotional support dog because I want to take it into the store and whatnot. And we don't offer that service. The moment I know it's a service that we don't offer, I send them a canned email, an email that I've already produced that tells them, hey, look, we don't offer this service. This is what we can do. If you're interested in having a conversation about what we are able to offer you, any one of these specific services, and I name them out and I name the price, so they have all of that information, and I don't have to carry on additional conversation with them if they're uninterested in it. Click the link. If they are not interested in it, I'm not going to get an email back. I'm not chasing them down. I've saved myself all of that time and energy and investment in figuring out whether or not they are a client that I'm going to take. I save myself that awkward, hey, I'm not going to work with you call, and why am I going to waste any of my time? So having all of these checks and balances and these things in place, when I put those in and started developing that, what I found was the number of calls that I was getting, potential clients, reduced. Now we got to the point where I would take 2 phone calls on a Monday, 2 phone calls on a Wednesday, and 2 phone calls on a Friday, and 1 on a Saturday, and have a turnover rate or a conversion rate of about 98%. So the number of potential clients I had went down, or phone calls I had, like the pool was smaller, but the quality of the client was far superior, and the massive change that took place was I was no longer trying to sell people, they were already sold. And so when we're talking about this specific question about, getting to the right people, it's making sure that they have as much information about what you sell, what you do in advance before they get to you. So being fully transparent on everything, having as much of the canned information, so information I'm going to tell everybody. Every client needs to give me this information. Every client's going to get this information from me. That's what I consider as something that's cannable. And you put it in a canned format, whether it's video or it's text. So we have lots of canned emails, and that's how you operate. So what happened for me was it reduced all of this time and exposure I needed to take in order to gather this information from the client. Tell me about this and tell me about that. And where now I'm trying to judge what's happening and saying, well, this isn't even something that we're doing, wasting all that time, to having a better client because we've already know. The people who are uninterested in doing it have weeded themselves out. The people that don't want to pay our prices have weeded themselves out. The people that don't want to deal with our training philosophy have weeded themselves out. So those 2 phone calls on the 3 days a week and the 1 on the Saturday, all of them know all of the key information that they need to have. I don't have to talk to them about price. They already know it. I require them to know it. I don't have to talk to them about our training philosophy because they already know it. I clarify, I do go over it. I go through all the steps and what's expected. But again, mostly it's just the logistics. Okay, I live in Maine. How am I going to get my dog there? Well, it's a 24-hour, 48-hour drive. You can do this, you can do that. This is how you can fly. This is where you could stay, whatever. Making sure that they have all of that information, and that it's more of a I'm interviewing the client on whether or not I absolutely want to take them on versus anything else. So my direct answer for you, and I appreciate you folks just letting me ramble on, is to go through it and develop that system so that all of those people that are reaching out to you for dogs that you're not going to work with, you have an easy way to refer them out. The other thing that I would do is, if you are getting a lot of aggressive bite cases that you don't work with, find a trainer that does and work out a referral system with them and saying, look, you're going to charge these people $3,000 or whatever to work with their dog. I'd like $100 a referral. There's nothing wrong with that. So find somebody that actually works with them saying, look, I get inundated with requests for this type of dog. I don't work with them. I don't work with bite cases. I looked at your website. I've looked at, the other stuff that you do, whatever. I agree with your philosophy, so don't just go to anybody. Find somebody good and reputable. And I'd love to be able to refer people over to you. I'd like a way to do that. And the referrals are, sales-based. So if you actually work with these people, and you can look that up. So you have the referrals that you send out, and those referrals, you can set up a filter so that those referrals go into, the sent folder, but it's a subfolder in there, sent to, you sent these to Method Canine. I sent these referrals to Julius at Method Canine. You can go through and say, okay, I sent 10 referrals, and you call them, hey, how you doing? I know I just want to know, did that work out? Oh yeah, I'm working with Julius. Great, checkbox, $100. So there's all sorts of things you can do to make money without wasting your time, and also by getting better cases. And the other thing too is you can work out partnerships. Hey, if you're getting tons of clients that have simple cases that you don't necessarily work with because you want to work with the bigger, more difficult cases, hey, let's partner, let's trade. So there's all sorts of things that you can do to increase your client base without having to pay a bunch of money for advertising. Scrolling through, that answers all that questions. Thank you. That's so sweet. Everybody's saying thank you. That's great. So I've been on here for longer than I thought that this was going to be, but this has been great. I'm going to do one more call out for any questions. I will do another thing because I had actually 11 items that I wanted to go over, and part of it was, lead and qualification, client vetting, onboarding clients the right way, pricing that reflects value, designing programs that actually scale up, communication systems and boundaries, which is some of the stuff that we actually talked about tonight, how to do some additional marketing and getting the right client stuff that we talked about, handling objections. How do you handle clients that want to say no to you about what you want to do? We had a client one time, very nice people. I'm not going to say their names, but they were ultra rich. We've had a lot of ultra rich clients. I don't know what it is about this area, but there's a lot of people over here that just have crazy, ridiculous money. A lot of lake properties and stuff like that. Anyway, we had a client one time but they wanted to control everything. And at some point in time, you just have to say no. And it doesn't matter who you know, it doesn't matter how much money you have, what you can do for me. Once they start getting ridiculous with the requests, you always got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you have to do some extra things, and that's part of the business. But anyway, yeah. So I want to talk about that. Referrals, reviews, repeat clients. How do you take care of them without, how do you increase your prices? People ask about that all the time. Managing high-risk cases and complicated cases. And one of the huge things I definitely want to talk about, and we'll do this in another one, is building your brand. Like, what's the value behind doing that, and how do you actually do that in an appropriate way without spending tons of money? I want to talk about that. Yes, Carissa. Hi, Carissa. Yes, we will. I'll be doing another one of these. So if there's any suggestions on a better time or better day, I'm happy to do this on the weekends too. I prefer not to do anything on Sunday. But Saturday is totally fine, and if it needed to be on a Sunday, because that just seemed to be the best thing for everyone, happy to do that as well. So it is, I guess I'll give this another 7 minutes, and then I'll put us at the 2-hour mark, and then we'll be done. I'll give it another, actually, 6 minutes, so we're just under 2 hours. Do price if no one says anything. Oh, so the regarding the pricing. So I'll talk about that. If you're brand new and you're worried about how much you should charge, you obviously should be pricing out your competitors. You should find out who's the dog trainers in the area, call them, just do your due diligence, and hey, I'm thinking about getting my dog trained. I just wondered, how much, pricing. If you go to a website and pricing not on there, huge problem. I don't like that at all. That's a disgusting tactic. It forces people to, it's a waste of your time. Be ultra transparent. Tell everybody everything that they need to know in advance so you're not wasting your time. Some people say, well, I charge $100 an hour and I just worry about people. Yeah, great. If $100 an hour is what you charge and that's what you need to charge, and you're worried about people being offended, you don't want them as your client. If they can't afford your service, unless you're, willing to give away something for free, you should never be negotiating your price. You can have sales, you can have all that type of stuff, but if you're worth $100 an hour, you're charging $100 an hour, that's what they should be paying. And either you're going to have people that can afford it and want to pay for it, great. If they can't afford it and they still reach out to you, private case, you can always figure that out, right? You want to do something good for the community, you want to help out, no problem. We do that all the time. But my advertised price, that's going to save you all of those people calling you up and saying, yeah, well, I just wondered what your price is. Now it's a waste of a phone call. You didn't give them information they could have had on your website. So, I charge $100, $100 an hour. I don't make $100 an hour. You're a dog trainer. Yeah, save yourself the headache. Just put your price on the website. Now when I call you and say, hey, Bob, I'm looking for dog training. Oh, okay, great. So on your website you charge $100 an hour. Is that accurate? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, why do you feel that you're worth that? Why should I pay that? Well, because you're paying for my expertise. You're paying for the guy that knows what to do and how to correct the problem, and that's what you're paying for. The time I've placed into being able to do what I'm able to do. As far as the rest of it's concerned with your pricing, you need to, once you know what your competitors are priced at, you shouldn't be pricing yourself lower than them unless you actually feel that that's appropriate. You don't want to start undercutting and then, what do you do at that point? Well, why are you so much cheaper than everybody else? If you're only going to be $5 or $10 cheaper, why? If you're really a lot cheaper, why? I've checked out all the dogs. Most of them are charging $100 an hour. You're charging $60. Why is that? Because people are just going to assume that you're not worth the time. So I would rather see you say, I'm going to charge $100 an hour, but today I'm having a sale. New clients, $40 off. Now you're at the price point that you wanted to be at, but justifiably so. Oh, it's a sale. Well, I want that. You're worth as much as the rest of the trainers, but you're offering me a discount. Now you're not losing the legitimacy of why you should be paid. Now it's just a deal. Now that's going to put urgency on me. I'm going to want that deal because it's limited seats only, and I'm going to go ahead and call you for that. So there's all sorts of pricing tactics that you can use that are fair and reasonable, that's not undercutting you, where you're starting at a higher price and you can always lower it. Again, going in like a lion, you can be a kitty cat later. I have a price for less economic people and a price for those who could afford it. That's great. I think that that's fantastic. We don't do that ourselves. We have our pricing, and if we find the need, if we feel the need that we need to help people to Butch, my best friend, he just I'm gonna throw this one up. I do love my hat. I'm gonna give a call out. These guys are amazing. This is Boston Scally Co. This is a penalty box hat. Not that I need them to make me an affiliate, or they don't need to sponsor me at all. They might want to. This is one of the best hats I've ever owned. Absolutely love it. I do plan on ordering some more. Again, just so you guys know, bostonscally.com, penalty box. Send them an email, tell them that Julius sent you. But anyway, I love you too, bro. He's a great guy. Really, really amazing friend. That's actually Carrie, our office manager's husband. But man, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, so fees for other people and not for the trainers. My fees are for the people, not against other trainers. My fees are for the people, not against other trainers. My charges are for Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so having different pricing structures, we do have pricing differences. We don't, throw out all the time, but we tend to give discounts. We do have different things that we offer to people, and sometimes we just have to give it for free. We've had people that have had, things in their life that are going on, and if you're in the position to give, again, I know this is touchy-feely for some people, but I go back to the love. We want people to feel loved. We want people to feel important. We want people to feel valued. We want people to feel seen. There's nothing greater that I could give you, anybody here, anybody at all. There's nothing greater that I can give to you than the love that's in my heart. And that comes from Jesus. So that's what I believe, and take it for whatever it's worth to you. But that's the greatest thing that I could ever share with you, is that love, that understanding. And it's important that however you experience that love, that care, that consideration that's within your heart, I truly believe that real success comes when it's funneled through that. We don't look at the dollar. The dollar is something that's just kind of there. We've never put the dollar before the standard that we operate at. You know, I once wrote that, you know, we've never compromised the quality of our service, the commitment to those we serve, or the content of our character for profit. And I believe that. Because the moment that you put the buck before the service, the quality of the service, the exceptionalism that you can bring, you lose sight of what really means to be in business, to be a coach, to be a help to other people. If the buck is coming first, you've really missed the mark. And I hope that everybody gets that from us. I know that that's where my heart is. I know that's where my wife's heart is. Carrie and Hope, Aurora, everybody that works with us, our goal is to make sure that people feel cared about, that the dogs feel cared about. Everything else is secondary. Yeah, no, I'm glad, Ann Jewel, that you're not undercutting. I think that that's really smart. I think that having your pricing scheduled, and then, you know, you might give discounts to rescues or the veterinarian clinics. Certainly anybody that's referring business to you, especially if they're constantly referring business, you always want to, you know, take really good care of those people. That's all very smart. All right, very good. All right, look, I'm going to be heading off now. God bless you all. I hope you all have a wonderful night. I will do this again. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any other feedback or any other questions that you want answered, email me. I'll actually put the email in there because I know the name Julius can be difficult for some people. I've been called Julian so many times in my life. All right, so Julius, and I spelled it correctly, Julius @methodcanine.com. So if you have questions or concerns that weren't addressed in this, or you're watching this post, the live, or rewatching it, shoot me an email, because I'll comprise a list of the questions that people have so that I can have those answers prepared for the next time to kind of expedite everything else. I want to make sure that this is really good, and really I'm amazed by the amount of people that showed up tonight, and the great questions, and the opportunity to share, you know, what we've been working through. So, hi, Carrie. See, these are all just awesome people. Taylor is one of the most adorable children, we've ever met. Really, she's just precious. I love my daughter very much. I want to say really quick that, just on a personal note, my daughter has been so amazing today. Just joking with her and laughing with her, and her personality has turned into something that's just so amazing. And it's crazy for me to see the beautiful woman that she's becoming, and the kind heart that she has. I go on this stuff about this stuff, and I know this is off topic, but when I talk about love and care and consideration, truly the greatest thing that I could give anybody is that. So on that note, if anybody ever has any questions or concerns that are not business related, but just life related, know that you can reach out to me, and I'll be happy to hear. If nothing else, just to be an ear to listen to. Everybody deserves to be heard, and everybody's got their own story, and I love stories. So, all right, have a great night. Oh, wait, there's one last thing. My dad's name is Julius. I've never known anyone else with that name until you. That's right. It's a great name. I love it. I've offered so many people, like, you should really name your kid Julius. And only one of my friends actually was going to name their child Julius, but then they decided to have a girl after 3 boys. My buddy Jacob. But anyway, all right. I'm off. Have a very nice night. Bye, Sailor. She's waving bye.